Hey everybody, welcome back. We are going to go start with our turn 1 of this Labyrinth playthrough, Solitaire playthrough. Again, if you haven't tuned in to the intro video, I'm going to go through this game, Labyrinth through the War on Terror, playing the solo AI, base setting for the AI. I, of course, am going to be playing as the Americans. That's how it works in the solo game. Okay, so if you're not familiar with the game, quick way is each player draws 2 cards or plays 2 cards. Jihadist always goes first. The US goes second. After that, you resolve plots, and then you do the whole thing again. After the cards run out, you run through this little end of turn thing. You redeal the cards. Play starts over again. So it's always going to follow that base system. So the Jihadist is always going to go first. They're always going to play 2 cards. With the artificial intelligence, you follow this little sheet here. I'll do the first couple turns for the Jihadists with like a very sort of laying out exactly what's going on. After that, I'll probably move a little bit faster. So this first video might be a little bit longer. So let's get started. The Jihadist cards are right here. US cards are over there. I don't know if you can see them on the camera. They are down there somewhere. Okay. So Jihadist, first card. Covert Action. Covert Action is the first Jihadist card. So it's a US event. You can see the cards have US or Jihadist ability. They have a little bit of text about what the event would be, and they have an operations number, which is a 1, 2, or a 3. So this is a 2 operations number Covert Action US card. And the US card, so you follow the little flowchart here. Can I get this on camera? I'll try. It's difficult. Things aren't set up easily. So what you do is you follow the flowchart. So it starts with playable non-US events. Is this a playable non-US event? Well, no, it is a US event. So you go down, you say no. That goes to, is it a playable US event? Play if you can select an adversary country. There is, so that is possible. So because there is a adversary country, there's Iraq, Syria, Libya are all adversaries. They're on the far right side of the board. So you can do that. So this gets plotted. So what happens there is you ignore the event. This is the solo ruse only, and they do a plot. So what you do with the plot is you roll in a target country, and then you place these little markers depending on how things have actually turned out. So we look at the plot spreadsheet as to where are we going to plot as much as possible in the US. We can't do it in the US. Prestige is low. No, prestige is at high, which is up there. Abu Sayyaf cells and troops in the Philippines. No. In countries with troops, there's no cells in countries with troops, so they can't plot. They need cells to plot. If the GWAT penalty is greater than 0, there is no penalty. No. In countries with the U.S. posture, there's no cells out there. It looks like the only cells are in Afghanistan, so I'm just going to go through the flowchart. In countries with the U.S. posture, then in countries with aid, then funding. So, and this all ends up at radicalization, because you cannot plot in an Islamist rule country, because that is the rule. Plot 8.5, target can be non-Islamist rule countries with cells. So there are none out there because there are no cells. So we're going to go through radicalization with that card. So it's again, 2-op card. You do radicalization. There are multiple steps depending on how many points. With all unused operations value ops, the first op automatically places 1 cell into a random country if the track has any cells. So we have to do that. What we do is we roll. There's this little chart down here that gives us a sort of spreadsheet about rolls. The black die is on the left, tan die is on the right. So I take a black die and a tan die and I roll them. Okay, we got a 6 and a 5. 6 tan, black 5. So 6 tan, black 5 is Afghanistan. So a cell just goes into Afghanistan, which is funny because they've already got everything there. So they basically recruited. The next op, since there are 2 ops on that card, that was our first one. The next op is going to be, next op automatically travels 1 cell by the flowchart. So you follow the travel flowchart to a non-Islamic regime with a besieged regime. So that is over here. There is a besieged, I always fucking have trouble saying that, besieged regime in Somalia. That's how the game starts, is that set up. And it comes from Islamist rule with cells greater than ops. So that's our Islamist rule. It has 5 cells. The ops of the card are 2. So one of them goes there, and it automatically travels because we're in radicalization. So this just happens. Normally you'd have to roll. So that goes there. Because the cell is moved in that country, we roll to see what the posture of the country is going to become. I'll roll the tan die. We rolled a 1. A 1 on the chart on the back. Governance 1 to 4 is poor. 5 to 6 is fair. So it's much more likely to get a poor result than fair. And that's exactly what happened here. So you take the poor marker and you put it in the neutral spot. All countries start neutral when you are determining their initial governance, unless the card tells you to do otherwise. So that's it. We used all 2 ops on radicalization. We recruited, or we placed a cell into Afghanistan because we rolled Afghanistan. And then we used our second op to automatically travel to Somalia. We rolled the dice. We ended up in Somalia. Or they went to a besieged regime, actually, and they came from a Islamist rule country where there were more cells and ops. They came from Afghanistan, went to Somalia. We determined the governance. It becomes poor. And now the cells have a little sort of station that they're trying to get to. Besieged regimes are good for the jihadists because they help with major jihad and turning things into Islamist rule. So the US is going to have to pay attention to that. So that's the first card of the Jihadist. You move the little marker up, and now we're on to card 2. And card 2 is this guy right here. It is the door of Jihad was closed. It's a 3-op card. It is a Jihadist event. So you look through, and playable non-US event. It is play if a country tested or improved to fair or good this or last action phase. So the event is not playable because we did not test or improve to fair or good this past action phase. We tested and that became poor, but that is no good. So this is not a card that the Jihadist really wants to draw early on. So we can't do the event. So playable non-US event. No. Playable US event? No. It's a Jihadist card. So no. Major jihad success possible? No. This is Islamist rule and there's only 1 cell there. You need 5 cells to do a major jihad. Yes, 5 more cells and troops. So no. Is a jihad possible in good or fair? No. There's only a cell in Somalia and Islamist rule again. So are cells available? Yes, there are cells available up in the jihadist funding. So we are going to recruit. So we do the 3 ops for recruit. We look at the little flowchart. And where do we go to recruit? In a regime change, where troops minus cells are greater than 5, so there's no regime change. Then in Islamist rule with cells less than 2 times the ops. 2 times the ops here are, am I reading that right? Cells are less than 2 times the ops. 2 times the ops is 6. There are 4 in Afghanistan. So then we recruit right there. So my understanding of this would be you'll do 1 at a time until you get to 6. I don't think you can go over 6 would be my understanding of how this rule is working. So with my two cells there will bring us to 6, which will then no longer make this an Islamist rule with cells less than 2 times the ops. So I would not do that. And then we'll move on to the next thing. So an Islamist rule with cells less than 2 times the ops. So right there. So that's the first one, our first op. There are 3 ops. And then we do it again. An Islamist rule with cells less than 2 times the ops. There are 5 cells. Doubled 3 is 6. So another one goes to Afghanistan. Now, Islamist rule with cells less than 2 times the ops. So there's 6 ops. There are now 6 cells. So that's not the case anymore. Then in a non-Islamic rule, non-regime change country with the highest recruit success roll. So I would imagine, recruit priorities. Besieged regime is going to take the priority. So Somalia is going to try to recruit. So what happens is we have 1 op left. They're going to roll their dice. It happened in Islamist rule automatically because Islamist rule actually happens all the time automatically. That's the special ability they get. So I'm going to roll this dice. I need a 3 or less to put a cell into Somalia. Rolled a 5. So it failed. So the cell does not get to come there. It does not go into Somalia. And that is that. So that's the second Jihadist card is done. We'll leave those right there. So that bumps it over to the yes turn. So that to recap what happened there. We did radicalization with our first card. Somalia became poor, had a cell put into it. Afghanistan gained a cell. We did our second card, which was the Jihadist card that they couldn't do the event. So we went through, they can't do a major jihad, they can't do a minor jihad. They have cells on the line so they can recruit. They did that. 2 cells went to Afghanistan. 1 cell tried to go to Somalia, and the dice roll did not work with them. They rolled a 5, they needed a 3 or less. So that cell stayed there. So that's the end of the Jihadist play. All right, with that ending the Jihadist turn, it's now the US's turn. US has these cards over here. So as the US player, I'm actually going to be able to do whatever I want to do. I don't have to follow the flowchart because I am here and I can do all my actions for myself. So I guess I should run through all the cards that the US player has actually, huh? Because we can look at everything. So let me organize these into a little bit of sense. Organize them by type. Okay. So here we go. I'll put up the cards on the screen as I do this, actually. So I have Musharraf, Ethiopia strikes, door to Jihad was closed, sanctions, Patriot Act, Bhutto shot, detainee release, Lashkar-e-Taiba, and Vieira de Mello slain. De Mayo? Might be Mayo. I don't remember that name. I don't remember her... I remember Bhutto being shot. I don't remember that one. Anyway, we have one card that is unaligned, so that's the Musharraf. We have 3 US cards. No, we have 4 US cards. And we have 4 Jihadist cards. So I think we'd like to do is get rid of the Jihadist cards that we could possibly get rid of early on. There is the Vieira de Mayo slain has play for regime change. Country has a cell. There's no regime change out there, so we could play that. Lashkar-e-Taiba is place a cell each in Pakistan and India. They could do that. Detainee release. Play if US disrupted this or the last action phase, so we could play that as well. And we can also play Bhutto shot because play if Pakistan has a cell is the prerequisite for Bhutto. So we might want to get rid of those. We might want to get rid of detainee release and Bhutto shot before they can actually be used on us. So what I think I'm going to do is I think we should try to shift Somalia to... Can we do that? Do we want to just get the Gulf states going? They can't turn Somalia into a major jihad until they get a bunch of cells there. So maybe we want to turn the Gulf states into a good resource. It's a good place to start. Gulf states right in the middle of everything. Having a good country connected to a bunch of other countries is very good. The Gulf states has a high resource value. It has a 3 resource value. It's got troops in there, which will be helpful. We can move those troops out after it's good because it'll be hard for the jihadists to do anything in a good country. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to play Bhutto shot. Play if Pakistan has a cell. It does not, so I can play this. We are going to do a war of ideas in the Gulf states. So the war of ideas is how the U.S. Shifts alignment, increases governance, and also shifts the European posture, so the war on terror. So what you need is a target or ally Muslim, a neutral or ally Muslim country. That's a Gulf state. If regime change, you must have more troops and cells, which we don't have. We're not in a regime change. So you roll on the war of ideas table, which is on the back of the sheet. With the war of ideas, you roll a die and you apply modifiers below. So we are going to go through the modifiers. -1, attempting to shift to good. We are, so we're at -1. GWAT relations penalty. There's none because the world is hard and the US is hard at the same time. Ho, ho, ho. US prestige is high, so we get +1, so we're at 0 because of the negative shift, -1 for the shifting to good, plus the +1 there, so we're at 0. Each aid marker, there's no aid. Each adjacent good ally, +1 maximum. There's no adjacent good ally. So we're just rolling a dice, and whatever the result is what's going to happen. So here we go. We rolled a 5, which is very huge because you need 5 or 6 for success. A 4 gets an aid marker. So we rolled a 5 and that actually worked. So this is going to become a good country. Since that became a good country, the good resources are increased to match. There's 3 good resources because the Gulf state is a 3. That's actually very fortunate that worked out for us. Improve elements. Good. If to good, remove all regime change, besieged regime, and aid markers. There are none there. You don't get anything else out of it. No, you just clear everything off, and getting it to good is good enough for the US. If failure by 1 dice pip, you add an aid marker, but we don't because we're already there. So that's a huge first thing for the US. Now that area is a little bit more easy. They connect to Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, and Pakistan, which is good. Maybe we should start moving over into Pakistan to stop the WMDs. We'll see though. So that's it. Bhutto shot is completed. I'll put those used cards up there. So now we're going to move on to the second US card, which I feel that they should play. This disrupt action to get rid of this detainee release. I feel like we should play that to get rid of it. Let's see if there's anything else here that the US wants to do. The Patriot Act. Oh, Patriot Act. We do have Patriot Act and sanctions. I wonder how well I should try to play this game, or if I should just actually just get through it just to make the video more entertaining. I'll probably just play... Okay, so we're going to play the Patriot Act for the operation. The US is not adjacent to any country except for Canada, and it allows sanctions to be played. Alright, so it's good to play this, get that actually into effect. Makes the US much more difficult to travel to for the jihadists. So we did the event, so then we just take the Patriot Act markers. Alright, so we put out the Patriot Act markers down there, and that event is over. We can now play sanctions. In the sanctions card, you play if Patriot Act is effect and it's -2 to funding. It's a one-op card. So the event is probably more powerful than the operation at that point. And it would be nice if we could get jihadist funding a little bit down, because that limits the amount of cells that are allowed to be placed on the map. So that's it. I'll put those back over there. We played the Patriot Act. You mark and remove, so this card would be gone. We're only doing a 1-deck game, so it doesn't matter. All the cards that are getting removed are going basically in the same pile as the non-removed ones. Bhutto shot, for example, would, if we were playing a multi-deck game, would come back because I didn't play the event. Or the Patriot Act did play the event, so we remove it. Doesn't matter on a 1-deck game, though. That's the way it is. All right, so... that was card 2 for the US. So now we're back into resolving plots. There are no plots on the board, so it goes back to the jihadist turn. We'll throw these up there. Need to get a better place to put the used cards. And we're going to start with the jihadist turn 2. Or action phase 2, however you want to call it. Opium. Play if Afghanistan has a cell. It's a terrible card for the US to see the jihadists get. Play if Afghanistan has a cell. This is the opium card. Place 3 more cells there. Then if Islamist rule, place all available cells there. So the event's going to happen because of the flowchart here. Playable non-US event. Yes. It is an event that recruits or places cells. Yes. Track has a cell. Yes. You play the event. Unassociated event after that, no, it ends. So you just do the event of what this is. If it was an unaffiliated event, you get to do ops after that as well. That's the kind of benefit that the solo AI gets. So again, place 3 cells in there into Afghanistan. If Afghanistan's at Islamist rule, place all available cells there. All the cells are available. They can all go there. So Afghanistan at this point seems to be a lost cause for the US. All that sweet opium money coming in hard. So that's that card. Done. Keep it there. Second jihadist card is Fatah. And it is a playable non-US event. Yes. Event recruits or places cells. Yes. Track has a cell. No. Radicalization. So this is actually unique. Because they don't have a cell to place. Which is interesting that opium came out and then this right after. This instead is going to be used for radicalization. It says 3 ops that we are going to radicalize with. So we'll run through that. Fatah, 3 ops. All unused ops values. First op automatically places a cell into a random country. If a track has any cells, it doesn't. The next op travels 1 cell by the flowchart. So travel 2 a besieged regime. So Somalia looks like it's going to be the target for a lot of traveling. 1 cell each. So we're going to roll 1 to go to Somalia. Oh, it automatically travels, right? Yeah, it does because it's radicalization. So it's going to go from Islamist rule with cells greater than ops. It comes from Afghanistan. All right, goes to Somalia. Happens automatically because we're in radicalization. The next, if funding is less than 9, it is not. Funding is at 9, so we don't do that. Each remaining op worsens a random good or fair Muslim country's governance 1 level. So they have 2 ops left, which is terrible. They can do, those are the 3 good and fair countries. So what we're going to do is I'm going to roll 1 dice to see which one is the first one. Syria will be 1 to 2. Iraq will be, or Gulf states will be 3 to 4. Pakistan is 5 to 6. It's a 2. So that's Syria. So Syria, the wording of the rule is each remaining op worsens a random good or fair Muslim country's governance 1 level. So that's going to go... Syria becomes poor. We lost a fair good country. They gained a poor Islamist country. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good resources is still 3. Now we only have 2 countries, so I'm going to roll 1 to 3 is Gulf states, 4 to 6 is Pakistan. It's a 1, so the U.S. lost good. The U.S. lost a good country. Good resources go down to 0. Fair, good country stayed the same because it went from good to fair. Poor Islamist stays the same because nothing changed there. But that was unfortunate because the U.S. basically lost that turn right there. So radicalization is tough eventually. Now that I'm actually playing this correctly, it's a little bit more difficult. So those are the 2 jihadi cards, Fatah and Opium. So now we're going to move to the U.S.'s turn. And the U.S. should probably try to fix the Gulf states again, right? Probably. We could also play Musharraf, which is play if Pakistan has any cells. You remove 1 cell from Pakistan, you set it to poor ally, and it's blocked by Benazir Bhutto. But Bhutto is not in effect. Is that something to do? Oh, Pakistan doesn't have any cells. I don't know what I'm talking about. Ignore me. Anyway, we'll do detainee release in the Gulf states again. So that's that detainee release. Gulf states, we need to roll again. So we need a 5 or 6 because there are no modifiers again. We rolled a 6. We're rolling pretty lucky, which is huge. So good resources go back up to 3. That stays there at good. And that is that one done, which is nice. US's second thing might be... Is now the time to do the sanctions? Probably not. I feel like we should do something more. We don't have Indo-Pakistani talks, so I can't. I think I'm probably going to hold on to this Lashkar-e-Taibi until the end. The U.S. has the ability of, when they get down to 1 card, they can discard, hold, or... I think those are your options. They basically can get rid of a damaging card. In the 2-player game, when the Jihadist plays their first plot, the effect doesn't happen. So that's their way to get rid of a troublesome card. So I'm going to hold on to Lashkar. Could probably play... I'm not going to regime change quickly. Should I regime change at this point? If I'm going to, I should probably... If I regime change, I don't know the strategy all too well, whether or not I should do that at this point. I think I'm going to play this Vieira de Mayo Slain, just because to get it out of the way in case I do want to fix Afghanistan. So what I'm going to do there is, do I want to move troops at this point? Or should I put them in reserve? I think I'll put this into reserve. So I'll play this for the 1 op to put in reserve for the US. So the US can use that 1 op point on a future turn. That's the point of the reserve track. You don't get to play the event. And that's going to be it for the US turn. So next up, Jihadist turn again. And we'll chuck this card. Oh, don't want to look at the Jihadist cards. That makes sense. All right, first card of them, Iran. Iran. So Iran is a playable... Yes, it is playable. Playable non-US event, yes. Event places or recruits cells. Jihadist play makes 2 jihad rolls there. Okay, so it does not place or recruit cells. No, you play the event, and then unassociated events, you do the ops. So the event for Iran, if jihadist play, make 2 jihad rolls. You select and test a Shia mixed country. So we'll do that. And you do that by finding the Shia mixed countries, which is a handy dandy chart right here. So the sum of 3 dice is how this works. So I got a 5, a 4, which is 9, and a 2 is 11. 11 is Iraq. Okay, so Iraq is right there. We can't test it. It's already been tested. If the US were to play this card, you'd remove a cell from there or Iran. They're not doing it. Jihadist play, make 2 jihad rolls there, ignore failures or shifts to an Islamist roll. So they would do their 2 rolls. They can't do anything because you can't worsen Syria, or I'm sorry, Iraq. You can't worsen Iraq anymore. And that's what jihad would do. So at that point, they are just going to get to do their event with their 2 ops. I'm sorry, they're going to get to play their 2 ops. Majors jihad success possible? No. Jihad possible in good or fair? No. Cells available? No. So they're going to travel. They travel to... The first cell is going to go to Somalia. Then a poor country possible where major jihad with 2 cells? No. Then good or fair Muslim, a country with cell adjacent. So they would go to Pakistan. Would be the other one. From Islamist rule with cells greater than ops. So this one is going to go... That one goes there automatically because they're adjacent. And then the other cell is also going to come. I don't believe the travel from is affected to the 1 cell each rule. That wouldn't make sense. So Islamist rule with cells greater than ops. They're going to go from there. Did I place one? I don't think I did. I can't review. I'm not going to review the video tab. I don't think I moved it. I moved to Pakistan. So what we're going to do is I'm going to roll to see if a cell can move from Afghanistan to Somalia. So I need a 3 or less. I rolled a 6. I actually didn't want that to happen, which is good. So because I rolled a 6, it does not work. The cell that was trying to travel, when a cell travels and it fails, you remove a cell to the funding track. So one of the cells from Afghanistan is going to go back to funding. That guy goes up there. And that's that. So that's the first jihadist card play. Sanctions. Another sanctions card. So with this card, it is playable non-US event. No, it's a playable US event because you can play with the Patriot Act as an effect. Yes, it goes to plot. So they're going to plot. Where? As much as possible in the US? No. Prestige low? No. No troops in the Philippines? No. Countries with troops. They don't have any cells in countries with troops. DUI penalty greater than 0? It's not. No. In countries with the US posture? There are no cells in the European countries. In countries with aid, no aid, then funding equals 9. Yes, radicalization. Okay, so we radicalize with that one. So their first, they don't have a lot of options about where they want to plot because Somalia is basically, they only have cells in. Oh, could they not do Pakistan? Troops, prestige low, no. Philippines, no. In countries with troops, no. Pakistan doesn't have troops. Then do you want, no. Countries with the U.S. posture, no. Then countries with aid. Huh, I don't think so. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So I'm going to go through this again. Plot as much as possible in the U.S. Then prestige low, no. That's not. Prestige is high. So Abu Sayyaf and cells and troops in the Philippines, no. In countries with troops, no. GWAP penalty is greater than 0. It's not. No. In countries with the U.S. posture. Then, in countries with aid. Then, funding equals 9. It does. Radicalization. Yeah, so I guess they just radicalize. I would think that well, maybe they wouldn't try to plot in Pakistan. You would expose your last cell. So the first op automatically places a cell into a random country if the cell has any tracks. It does. There's only one op on this card, so this is the only thing they're going to get to do. So we rolled a tan 6 and a black 5. Is that exactly the same thing as Afghanistan? The cells just love Afghanistan. So that goes there. And then the jihadi turn is over. All right, time for the U.S. What I'm thinking is we should probably... Do I want to keep my cards? Are they going to lose... They're going to be at a card disadvantage next turn if I can get that funding down. So we're going to play sanctions. Sanctions right here. Play if Patriot Act is in effect. It is -2 to funding. So we're going to play that. And when the turn ends, they're going to get bumped down and hopefully only be able to use those cells. We'll need to get some cells back to over there, I think. And then do I want to regime change at this point? I don't think so. I'd rather regime change next turn when I have a bunch of cards and I'm able to actually do something. What I think I should do is... I think I should try to turn Somalia into an ally so I can stop the flow of cells going over there. So I need to play a 3 card. I'm going to play the Musharraf, which is 2, plus my 1 in reserve. We're trying to get Somalia over to an ally. So that was my Musharraf card. So what we need to do is roll into War of Ideas. So to shift alignment or improve governance, neutral ally Muslim country, there it is, it's neutral. So we are going to do the little thing, attempting to shift to good, no. GWAP penalty, no. Prestige is +1. Aid marker, no. Adjacent good ally, no. So we're +1 in our roll. I'm going to roll the tan die. It's a 2. 2 plus 1 is 3, which is nothing. So that just totally failed. That's too bad. So the U.S. turn is over with that point. Over to the Jihadist turn. Benazir Bhutto. A lot of the Bhutto cards. So, playable non-U.S. event. Play if no Islamist rule within one country of Pakistan. There is. So this is a non-playable. Playable non-U.S. event. No. Playable U.S. event. No. So, Major Jihad? No. Jihad possible in good or fair? It is in Pakistan. So, yes. Jihad is possible in good or fair, so we'll do that with the 1 op. It's a 3 op card, the Benazir Bhutto. Alright, so, when they jihad, he gets flipped over like that. It worsens governance and removes aid. For each roll in a target country, 1 cell there must go or be already active. Each success worsens governance 1 level towards poor and removes an aid marker. You do not shift alignment or worsen to Islamist rule. Failure removes the cell to the funding track, and you do not place a cadre. So they need to roll a 1 or a 2. They rolled a 5. So that cell goes back to the funding track. They don't gain anything else out of it. They used 1 op to do that because they only had 1 cell, so they have 2 left, and with their 2, they're going to radicalize. So, with the first op, automatically places 1 cell into a random country if it has, the track has cells. So I'm going to roll a tan die and a black die. 5 and a 5, which is a little bit different. So we have Gulf states. That's the first op of the 2 remaining. Next op automatically travels 1 cell by the flowchart. So 2, a non-Islamic regime with a besieged regime. Sets Somalia. And it's from Islamist rule cell greater than ops, which is obviously Afghanistan, because Afghanistan is teaming. So that happens automatically because it is radicalization again. So the U.S. has to deal with the Gulf states problem over there, I think, which might not be that bad of a thing. But that is it for... Oh, no, that's their first card, isn't it? Jihadist second card. Leak. Play if enhanced measures, renditions, or wiretapping is in the event box. None of those are in the event box, so we can't do this event. So what it is at that point is playable non-US event. No. Playable US event. No. Major jihad success possible. No. Jihad possible in good or fair. No. Yes, it is possible. So in the Gulf states. So they'll do a minor jihad in the Gulf states. They need to roll a 1. They rolled a 4. Alright, so that failed, so this guy leaves. So that's good. It cleared out the Gulf states, although the U.S. won't get prestige from disrupting them, which is too bad. Okay, so it's a 3-op card. Jihad possible, cells available. Now there is a cell available to recruit. Oh, I'm sorry. No, minor jihad is done. So we're going to radicalize with the rest of the ops points, right? That's the only place they can jihad? Yes, it is. That's the only place they can jihad, so it's radicalization with the last 2 points. So they are going to recruit in a country. Brown 5, black 2. Black 2, brown 5 is Jordan. So now we have to test Jordan. It's a 2, which is a poor result. So Jordan becomes a poor neutral. This increases. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I must have forgot to move 1 again. I'll check that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. Good or fair, 1 and 2. That makes sense. Good resources are 3. Islamist resources are 1. So that looks like it's all set. That was the second op. The next op automatically travels the cell by the flowchart. It's going to go to Somalia from Islamist rule Afghanistan. So major jihad is actually becoming possible in Somalia, unfortunately. I felt like we had more time. We just don't have any time. So that's the jihadist turn. Next up is US. And the US is probably going to have to start dealing with Somalia at this point. We really need them to shift to good. So I'm going to do that with the door to Ijtihad was closed. I'm not going to play the event. I'm going to play it for ops, a war of ideas, in Somalia. So what that means is the U.S. needs to go through its war of ideas table. Attempting shift to good? No. Trying to shift the alignment. GWAT relationship penalty? No. World is hard and the U.S. is hard. Prestige is +1. Each aid marker? No aid marker. Each adjacent good ally? No. So we're at +1. So we're going to roll the dice. I got a 6 + 1 is 7. So that's a success. So Somalia shifted to, an ally. At that point, you don't change the governance. You have to have, they have to be an ally, basically, before. So if they're neutral, the War of Ideas shifts them to an ally, and then you can increase their governance at that point. So what's now? That was our first card turn, which is actually huge. And now we need to... We could probably move troops into there. I think that might be the best thing, to take them out of the Gulf states and put them into Somalia. So let me refresh myself on the travel, or troop transport, whatever, deploy, that's what it's called, move troops, excuse me. An ally Muslim country can be the target or the troops track. Troops track is good. If a regime change country must have at least 5. Result, move any number of troops from one location on the board to the target. It's the target country, though, isn't it? Yes, it must be, because you're moving to 1. So it would be hard to move things into So I can't move into Somalia. I do have this Ethiopia Strikes card if they manage to get there. Oh, I could play the Lash card because there are no cells. I might do that. Let me think about this. This card, this Lashkari Taiba, can't be played because there are no cells to place there. Okay. I think I'll do that then. And to take better advantage of the ops, I'm going to... What do I want to do here? Do I want to shift Pakistan to an ally? Or do I want to put this... I think I want to... My two options are I can either shift Pakistan to an ally or I can put this as a reserve point and deal with Somalia. The Jihadist player has one more card left. Okay, I'm going to play Lashkar. I can't do the events because they have no cells. So I'm going to... If I get over there, I can start disrupting. I need troops in Somalia. That seems to be the priority. But I can't do it this turn. So I might as well do Pakistan, I think. I'll roll Pakistan. War of Ideas in Pakistan. So, War of Ideas in Pakistan with our 2-up card is attempting shift to good? No. We're attempting to shift it to an ally. Do you want relationship penalty? No. Prestige is +1. Each aid marker? No. Adjacent good ally? +1. So we're at +2. I rolled a 1. So that's a 3, so nothing works. Very frustrating when that happens. Alright, so that was a waste. These two are done. And it is the Jihadi player. No plots to resolve, obviously, so we're just going to go back to that one. Last Jihadist card. Jemaah Islamiyah. Place 2 cells in Indonesia. They can't do it, so it's a non-playable... Playable non-US event? No. Playable US event? No. Major Jihad? No. Jihad possible in good or fair? No. Cells available? No. So they travel. 2, besieged regime, obviously, from Islamist rule with cells greater than ops. So that, except this time we're actually rolling, so this could fail for them. They rolled a 1, so it didn't fail. Well, I was hoping that wouldn't work out for them, but unfortunately it did. So now Somalia is in danger of becoming an Islamist regime at the next turn. That was the final Jihad card play. So this card will get discarded. And now it's the US's turn. And the US has an option here. It can hold on to this card. It'll play if Somalia or Sudan is under Islamist rule and you set it to poor neutral. That's really kind of huge because it looks like the game is really going to try to get Somalia there. If they do, I can just play this card and fix everything. It's probably for the best. So I'm going to hold on to this card, not discard it. So the US will hold on to its Ethiopia Strikes. That'll be the end of the turn. So no plots to resolve. It goes back to the Jihadist thing. End of turn. -1 to the funding. If it's not clear, we're running through this little end of turn thing you do here when all the cards are done. That's how it works. I'm not very good at speaking about this, it seems. So -1 to funding. -1 to prestige. +1 prestige if their net world posture is a 3. Sorry, I had to lean close and read that. So it's not. So the world being a 3 hard when the US is hard would give you bonus prestige. It doesn't. You remove lapsing events. Reserves to 0. Those are set. Deal new hands. And regime change goes to 10. There's no regime change. So that's it. The US is going to hold on to 1 card. Next turn, the US is going to get 9 cards. Jihadists are going to get 8 cards because their funding went down, which is important. And yeah, we'll pick it up from there. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed the content, I'd appreciate it if you could hit that like button on YouTube. leave a comment. Let me know what I fucked up. Let me know what went wrong, what you think. And I'll be back with turn 2 of our Labyrinth playthrough. See ya.